as a job seeker, one of the most important areas to get right on the resume is the summary. It's also an area of the resume that few people actually put a lot of attention to. And it's an area that, if you get it right, can really differentiate yourself in a crowded job search. So the summary is the first 2 to 3 sentences that appear at the top of the resume. And it's a great area to, first and foremost, capture the attention of the hiring manager. So we have to remember that hiring managers in this day and age have about 8 to 10 to 12 seconds tops when they're looking at a resume. So you've got to be able to very quickly convince a hiring manager that you're the right person to interview for this role. And if you imagine that the hiring managers get 100, 200 resumes for each role, it's a really nice kind of snapshot of who you are to differentiate yourself. You can imagine that when you think of all the resumes that somebody gets and they all look about the same and they all speak about, to the same kinds of skills, the summary section is really helpful when you execute it properly. The second important aspect of the summary is that it allows you to introduce a little bit more applicant tracking system optimization and search engine optimization. Again, we've got to remember that resumes go through a computer before they hit anybody who's looking at it for the most part. And so these applicant tracking systems are typically programmed against certain keywords that hiring managers are looking for. And these keywords can sometimes be very difficult to introduce in the body of a resume, where you're trying to showcase quantitatively the different performance and KPI success that you've had in your career. So think of something like team leadership or detail orientation or results driven. These are words that you often see on a job description because it's stuff that hiring managers like to look for in the ideal candidate. But those things are difficult to showcase. I mean, how do you showcase to somebody that you're detail oriented when you think about, the KPIs that you've been held to in your career? So in the occasion that an applicant tracking system has been programmed or filtered against the word detail oriented, the summary is a great place for you to include that. And not everybody will. Not everybody will be wise enough or clever enough or astute enough to look at the job description and pull out the words that are more difficult to introduce on a resume because they're more difficult and allow you to differentiate yourself. So we'll go one by one. So the first one would be detail oriented. The second one could be team leadership. How are you as a team manager? Or if the job description is saying, we want somebody who has great team leadership skills. In the body of the resume, you might be able to highlight how many people you've managed, which could be an indicator of your skill as a team leader, but it also could be luck. Let's say your prior organization was a big one and you've walked into a role where you manage 20, 30, 40 people. On the aggregate, if that team hasn't succeeded or on the aggregate that team hasn't grown, then your abilities as a team leader are subjective. That said, though, if the job description is looking for someone with team leadership abilities, calling out in the summary, in the first couple sentences of your resume that you have team leadership abilities or that you are detail oriented is a great way to at least scratch that off, remove one of the variables from the filtering process, such that you have that advantage when you're competing against so many different kinds of candidates in the workplace. So we've kind of highlighted there too. So you've got the ability to use that summary section to capture the attention of a hiring manager right away, and you can also use that section to highlight some of the keywords that are important when you look at a job description. The third and final aspect as to why the summary is so important to get right is that it's a great place to showcase some of the skills that you wish you could showcase that maybe are hard to include in the body of a resume, but also aren't particularly important when you're thinking about keyword optimization. So, let's use on the screen here as an example. Let's say that they're going for an account manager role where sales isn't such an important part, for example. It's more true account management. So just kind of managing accounts and making sure that your touch points are taken care of and you're servicing the client properly. But you as an individual know that one of your competitive advantages is your ability to do sales. If you look at that final sentence there, astute salesperson adept at fostering long-lasting business relationships, that's a word there that they snuck in, for example, that maybe doesn't fit in the grand scheme of things, but is a core element of that individual, and they want to showcase it. So you can kind of see how different things, different skills can be showcased in this summary section that could make you stand out from, a sea of other account managers. And that could be the one thing that takes you over the top in terms of getting an interview, right? Again, if you're thinking about competing against 100, 200 different people that have similar skill sets and similar abilities, what are the few different things that allow you to stand out from the crowd? And the summary section is really one of the only sections on the resume, I'd say, that you have the ability to showcase those skills. So the summary is one of those sections that few people get right. I think it takes quite a lot of thoughtfulness and skill to be able to weave the keywords that you want to, the nuance of somebody's personality and skill set, and make this section seem like a real snapshot of a professional that is attractive and enticing to somebody who wants to make a call. And so getting it right is important. Not everybody will do it, so it's a good idea to spend the time to make sure that you actually do this section properly. And it's important to remember those three things that you want to make sure that your summary has. So make sure that it's an attractive 4 sentences. Make sure that you're attaching the right keywords. So look at the job description. Make sure that you're looking at the right keywords and including them in the resume or in that summary section, especially if they're not available in the rest of your resume. And then third is showcase one or two things that are true differentiators for you, sustainable competitive advantages for you that don't appear on the resume elsewhere. I think you make for a great summary section if you include those 3 things.